Today we're here with one of my favorite and most energetic Nitzavim alumni, Izzy Barnstein, who is on our program last year, one of our awesome fellows, and is currently studying and attending the University of Maryland. Izzy, it's really nice to have you. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Rabbi. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for the wonderful introduction, and I'm looking forward to this episode, so let's do it.
Thank you. So Izzy, last year you were part of our Nitzavim Fellows in Jerusalem, where we focused on training the next generation of Jewish leaders who are going onto college campus to become leaders on their campuses. Aside for the training and all the skills and everything that we do, is one of the opportunities that students have is to build a project, an idea of how to make a difference on their college campus, either for Israel or for Jewish continuity and Jewish life. And you guys came up with a really interesting idea, a really unique idea called Terrapin, Tisch. And so I wanted to just ask you a few questions about it. Number one is, how did you come up with this idea last year?
I really have to give the credit to my group mates for coming up with the idea. When we were first discussing what our project was going to be in Jerusalem, I was going for more fighting the anti-Semitism route, something along those lines. But my group mates were looking towards more of a Jewish unity route, which, looking back, was definitely the right choice for this campus, for the University of Maryland, because there's a big Jewish community here. And there's certainly aspects of anti-Semitism on the campus, but compared to some of the Ivy League schools and places like that, I think we should certainly be more focused here on trying to bring the large Jewish population together. So it was really my group mates. They came up with the Tisch. I think Aiden Melkin was definitely the mastermind behind it, coming up with the initial idea. And then we all worked together developing it further on from there.
Why don't you explain to everybody what exactly is the concept of Terrapin Tisch? What's a Terrapin? What's a Tisch?
A Terrapin is just a student at the University of Maryland, and 6,000 of the Terrapins at the University of Maryland are Jewish, and that's a big population of Jews. When you look in a lecture hall, 1 out of 5 people in the lecture hall, the odds are they're Jewish. We've got a lot to work with. The religious community itself is also pretty large, but when you think about it, it's only around 13% of all the Jews that are at the University of Maryland. What is Terrapin Tisch? It's essentially it's a small festive gathering with food and drinks and songs and simple Devar Torahs to try and bring these less affiliated Jews closer to the Jewish community. And one of the more specific ways we try to do it is we try to get around 50% religious students at the Tisch and then 50% less affiliated.
Like bridging the gap, making friends, getting other people.
Exactly.
It's all about friends and food. So you have friends and food, get people together, and then that's a winning potion.
Totally. And free food is always a big eye catcher for college students. And we're really focused on, during the Tisches themselves, are just talking face to face, being personable, and trying to get to know each other, because that's really the best way, I think, to bring people together.
Izzy, who wouldn't want to meet you and be your friend? It's like a very simple. But going back, how do you even find these people? How do you recruit people to come to a Tisch? Good food, friends, but it doesn't just happen like in a vacuum.
So one of the first ways we got people together, and something we really utilized, was something called Fresh Fest. And Fresh Fest, it's done through the Hillel at Maryland, but it's basically an early move-in for Jewish students. And it's like a 3-day program where you go to DC for some time and there's stuff to do on Shabbat. But there was a lot of people there. I don't remember the exact number, but it was definitely more than just the religious community. It was a lot of Jews. So during that period, me and my group mates reached out, really tried to meet people who were less affiliated, and we got their numbers and we got their contacts.
You make it sound so simple. Was that uncomfortable to just go meet people? Were people nervous and did not want to give you their numbers? What was it like?
I think there's always an aspect of nervousness to it. That's just how it is with social gatherings.
People also want to make friends, right?
Of course.
So it's not too awkward, right?
Yeah. People are there to meet people. And that's why we were there too. We met people. That's what we did.
Was it hard to go out of your comfort zone and try to do that?
It might differ for each person in the Tisch group. I feel like personally, I'm pretty solid at trying to get out of my comfort zone and trying to meet people that maybe I wouldn't initially think of walking up to it first. There was some anxiety, but overall, you just got to do what you can.
So you went over to people, introduced yourself, made friends with people, say, hey, I'm Izzy, shook your hair, made some friends with them, and then ultimately started inviting them to Tish's. That was like the next step.
Yeah, we have our flyers that we make. Those are always a good eye-catching image that we can send to people, but just tell it how it is. I reached out to each of these students, and so did my project mates. And we just said, hey, this Thursday night, we're throwing down a little get together with some free food, homemade cholent. Some of them I had to explain what cholent was, but most of them knew what cholent was.
So what is your explanation for cholent? Let me hear that.
I say it's like a thick beef stew. I don't know. How would you describe it differently? What do you think, Rabbi?
I think that's great. So my question is, are the people coming for the beef stew? Are they coming for the beer? Are they coming for the company?
I think they're coming for all of it, and the singing included too. That's another thing we really try to put into our tishes. But overall, I think what people enjoy the most is just talking and being able to sit together in an apartment and have a reason to go and have a mission. It's having the driving force of Judaism behind it, which really just brings everyone together. It's really beautiful, and I think people really have enjoyed it so far.
How has the feedback been from these students that may have never had a Tisch, never had a cholent, never sang some songs, never really did this type of hangout? What has the feedback been so far from these students?
So far, everybody likes the cholent. That's something I've gotten a lot of good feedback about, even during the tishes. So that's great. And the other food there too, as well as the drinks. We're trying to get people to also branch out even more. Bring your friends and always have a +1, trying to branch further out into that population of over 6,000 Jews at the campus. We definitely have a long way to go.
Has it been hard to connect to people that maybe grew up different than you have? Has there been a disconnect, or have you been able to naturally connect and befriend them on a real level?
One of the advantages for me personally is that I didn't grow up in a religious household. I'm personally able to connect with these people more. And a lot of these people I've met so far, they went to private Jewish school, but they never really felt that connected to the Judaism they were learning, which is something I could relate to. So having that area where I can relate to them has made it easier for me to reach out to these people. Being part of the Jewish community here, sometimes I feel a little bit closed off in a way because it's a bubble and it's hard to break that bubble. So it can be going out of my comfort zone, and it can be for us as a group going out of our comfort zones. And that's something we have to do in order to reach out and meet these people and build a connection with them.
It's amazing that you're bursting out. Again, it's not necessarily always so comfortable. It's not so easy. But let me just think about it from a stance of pride. How many Jews so far do you think that you have now brought in to befriend you guys, to now get involved since the year started?
It's hard to come up with an exact number, but the amount of people we've had come to our tishes so far, like different people, I'd say it's somewhere around maybe 50 or 60 individuals that we've had coming in and out. And there's some where it's more successful, some where it's harder, but I've definitely seen people who have been coming to Hilla more often after coming to our tishes, and people like that included with the students who have started coming repeatedly, people who keep coming back. Now the next step for us is trying to really get them into the meal culture in the religious community, because there's a big meal culture, especially on Shabbat, of course, in the Jewish community here. People hosting lunches and dinners at their apartments, and it's one of the most fun parts of being a religious Jew on this campus. So we've really been trying to get them to come to those, and reaching out to some of our other religious friends saying, hey, we got some people who are interested in Judaism and they're less affiliated. Do you want to invite them to your meal? They can really get a taste of what it's like here.
So 50 to 60 people that really were not involved and are now involved at Maryland, Israel, and Jewish life because of you and your project. I'm sure you feel a tremendous sense of pride, no?
Of course, I definitely do. But even within those 60, the rough estimate, there's people who I haven't seen since our tishes and that we're trying to get to come back to our tishes. And that can hurt your pride as well, to be thinking this is such a great event we're having here. But some people, whether they're really busy with school or maybe they have other things going on, it can be difficult to try and get them back, even if they're really great guys. And I want to really introduce them to this beautiful community.
It's an amazing lesson there. First of all, in terms of whenever you're doing something good in the startup world, There are bumps along the way. And to think that you had 60 people and some of them are not coming back, but to really focus on the positive, the unbelievable successes that you had, and to realize there's going to be bumps along the way. Now, whenever you try to do something good, don't expect it to go smooth sailing. And what you guys have been doing is really unbelievable. And that leads me to my next question. Most people, even if they get to the point like you, that they come up with an idea and they really want to jump into it and they're very excited about it, but there's always a fear of what's going to happen. Is it really going to work? Are people going to come? Should I launch it? It's not the right time. School's starting. I haven't met the right people. How are you guys able to overcome this and just jump into it and launch? Because launching is the hardest thing and just getting it going.
Yeah, I would say, especially during this semester of college with the Jewish holidays. The Jewish holidays is a very busy time at secular college for religious students because people are very busy with work. If I were to tell these students any advice, I'd say if you're gonna do a project, something like we're doing, then really try to kick it off as soon as you can, because before you know it, the holidays will be coming up and everybody's going to be busy and there's going to be a lot of work and exams that you have to make up and things like that. Now we're at a point in the semester where finals are coming up, because you have to think about it for yourself personally, but also the people you're trying to get to come. We've had a lot of people who have given us maybes. Maybe I might come, but I have a lot of work, or I have an exam coming up later this week. And especially at this point in the semester, that can lead to lower turnouts for whatever kind of project you're doing.
So just jump into it as soon as possible, no excuses. And if you do it, hopefully it'll go. And that's also just another question I want to pose your direction is that what would you suggest to other Jewish students? Obviously, it's really hard. It's time consuming. You have so much going on. You've tasted a little bit about what it could be like by getting somebody that has never experienced what you've experienced and get them involved. So what advice would you give to people to say, hey, with not a lot of work, you could really change things, but yet you're balancing your crazy schedule? What advice would you give to fellow college students?
I think in order to be successful in whether you're doing a Jewish Unity project or any sort of project, really, is just the personal connections that you make. That's really what's most important. And you can talk to people during your gatherings or during whenever you're hosting your project, but it's also really important that you reach out to these people when they're not at whatever event you're hosting, because that's how they know, wow, these people are really trying to get to know me and they really want me to be more involved in their community. So the best advice I would give is really just to be inclusive. Start inviting these people out to your events, whether it be meals on Shabbat, or there's also a lot of stuff that goes on during the week with Hillel and with JSU. There's always events going on. So just invite them. Ask them if they want to come. If you're going along anyway with your friends, you might as well bring them as well.
Just be friendly, meet people, invite them. Let's zoom back a little bit and try to reminisce some of the good times here in Jerusalem that we had together. What was one of your highlights of the Nitzavim Fellowship last year?
Definitely for me, I would have to say the Shabbaton we did in January, more specifically when we were riding those ATVs around the outskirts of Jericho. That was maybe the highlight of my year, really. I loved it. And I love being with all those guys. And Nitzavim in general was just a great way for me to meet some of the more yeshiva people and more of the seminary people, because I was at Bar Ilan University. So I was over in Ramat Gan and I was further away from this big group of people. So it was a great outlet for me to make those connections personally. But yeah, again, the ATV rides were definitely a great time.
And how did Nitzavim help you like build a community of other people and help you think about what it's going to be like on college campus and making an impact?
Whenever we had our classes at Mount Scopus or in Jerusalem, in more of the main city area of Jerusalem, just being able to meet those people, because I didn't get to meet everybody. That's one thing I noticed. I didn't get to meet everybody at the classes. And that's where I noticed this is how it's going to be at college too. You're not going to be able to get to meet everybody. There's a lot of people and you don't have a whole lot of time. But I would say it prepared me because I was going out of my comfort zone, and that's carried over to college too, because I always have to push myself here to meet more people.
At the final showcase, you had the food in the beginning, a little bit of champagne, enjoying all the company. And then it came, you guys were one of the 6 finalists. And you had your preparation sessions with us in Haran in that apartment, and we went over the presentation. And then you were called up to present. When you were getting up to the presentation, How did you guys feel about your presentation in terms of the ranking? Did you think you did a good job? Did you think that you were going to potentially win? What were your feelings?
Even before the main showcase, when we did our classroom presentation, we generally agreed it was mediocre. Our presentation itself, we thought the content was good, we thought our mission was good, but what was lacking was really just our presentation. So between our classroom presentation and the actual showcase, what we really focused on, especially me and Aiden, since we were speaking, was just maximizing our presentation, focusing on getting it to the highest level that it could possibly be. Coming into the showcase, we had practiced a lot. We were pretty confident, not necessarily that we would win, but that we would perform to the best of our ability. And I would say that's what we did. When we got up there, I felt like everything went really well, but I wasn't entirely confident we would win. There was a lot of other great groups that we were competing with who also gave great presentations. I think after I sat down after the presentation, I had people coming up to me, "That's it, it's secured, you guys got the W." And I'm like, really? I can't see it yet.
And so then what was the feeling when that was called? And the winner is Terrapin Tisch. What was that feeling then?
It was surreal. It was really great. Felt like a dream come true. I think we all really enjoyed that night, and we had a fun time overall, which is very important as well. And it was great to win.
We couldn't be prouder of the fact that you took this amazing idea, you worked on it, and you launched it. And you had those 60 people. You're already trying to figure out how to get those people to bring other students, so recruit more students, how to retain the students that you had, those 60 students, how to convert those 60 students to bring them onto different programs. That's really what it's all about, is taking, at this time when Israel and the Jewish people are going through some tough times, taking responsibility on your shoulders for the Jewish people and for the future of Israel in some way, shape, and form. That's what we run Nitzavim for. And we can't be prouder of you and everybody else in Terrapin Tisch and really everybody else out around the Nitzavim Fellowship last year. Just one other thing, since you guys were so successful with the project and getting things going, and you have this desire to build and build and build more, if you could bottle up that experience that you've gone through from being on Nitzavim to now taking it to fruition and moving it forward, what's one parting message that you would like to give to your Nitzavim fellows from your year? And also, we just started again with 100 students this year. We're building it out to almost 1,000 students this coming year. So what would be the message that you would give to everybody else having gone through this process and now being a freshman and actualizing a project?
I said it in my presentation that, especially after the events of October 7th, Jews, especially college students, are looking for strength and unity. And I think the best way to unify, like I said before, to be inclusive and to make these personal connections and to bring these people to your gatherings. Whether if it's you're doing a Jewish unity project or if you're fighting anti-Semitism on a campus where it's more prevalent, I think personal connections are everything. And that's what I would emphasize for these students. Make those connections and utilize them and strengthen them. And don't give up on people either. Even if it seems like it might be a lost cause, there's always hope.
Amazing. Go out of your comfort zone a little bit, even if it's that fresh fast, meet people, say hi to people, befriend people, and who knows where that will lead. Izzy, again, we are so proud of you. We're so excited that you are on the program. We're excited of everything you are doing, and we look forward to continue following up with you, helping build Terrapin Tisch, and who knows where it'll be replicated to. Maybe Mish Tisch, Bing Tisch, who knows where. So looking forward to continuing and being in touch. Thanks so much for taking your time.
Thank you so much for having me, Rabbi. It's an honor.
Take care.